Hi everybody, glad to hear that you're enjoying the waxing. Pretty much everybody who does the waxing on their chain say they're not going back to the oil-based lubricants and they're staying with the wax, which is good. They love the silky smoothness of the ride on the chain. Now, what we're going to do in this episode is basically go through some of the most commonly asked questions that you have been asking. So I'll quickly try and do them as quick as I can without making this video too long. Firstly though, there's two ways of waxing your chain that I've highlighted in the last couple of videos. One of them is with the squirty bottle, the first one, the squirty bottle, where you have liquid, just like oil, you just put it on. That's for if you can't or don't want to take your chain off your bicycle, or in emergencies when you just have to have the wax on your chain and you just put it on. So use it liberally. Now it has xylene in it. Xylene, and there's a lot of questions about xylene. Where can you get it? Is there a replacement for xylene? Oh, it's not available where I live. So we'll have a look at that. So that's the first one with the xylene. The other one is with, of course, in the cooker, where you totally immerse your chain once it's totally clean. Put it in the wax and it really gets into the pins and rollers, right into the essential parts of the chain, to the moving parts, and lubricates it the best way. That's actually the best way of doing it. If you can do it with the hot wax bath, take your chain off. So in order to take your chain off, you're going to need a removable link, and I'm going to go on about it again. Connex make the best removable link, and the reason is they last a long time and they're easy to remove. Now some people say, oh, but Connex links are quite expensive. Well, yes they are, but when they last up to 50,000 kilometers, it's actually cheaper than any other link, especially when some of these links, they say once you take it off you've got to put a new one on. That's silly. These you can use over and over and over and over and over and over. The other thing is, if you buy a new chain, they come with it anyhow. So good excuse to try Connex chains as well, which are actually pretty much the best chains out there as well. Maybe not the lightest, but extremely strong and reliable. So a removable link, easy to undo. Put your chain in the wax and then put it back on when you're ready to go. So removable link you must have. So now let's quickly have a look at some of the questions that people ask, and I'll start off here with Rob. And Rob asked, do I need to thoroughly clean my chain before re-waxing every time? Do you need to completely clean your chain, like we've said in the petroleum and whatnot, to take everything off your chain before you re-wax it? No, you don't. Once your chain is properly waxed the first time, then you just put it back in the wax bath, assuming you're going to use the hot wax bath, and then the dirt will come out and sink to the bottom. So as long as you keep your chain above that, then you should be alright. Now we're going to cover that in a minute as well. So no, you don't have to. If you want to, you can. If your chain is really bad, maybe on a mountain bike ride, you've been riding for hours in the terrible, atrocious conditions, yeah, I would say I would probably do that myself as well. But generally, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, no, you don't need to. Put it straight in the hot wax and it'll clean itself and re-lube itself. When the wax is nice and hard like that, once it's cooled down, it looks all nice and clean. And of course you're going to reuse that for your next chain and the next one and the next one. It looks all really good there, but when you turn it upside down, you take it out, turn it upside down. So this is what sinks to the bottom of your wax bath. Those large bubbles there are caused by water, and you can see lots of small specks of dirt all sunk to the bottom of the wax bath. But above that is your clean wax. When your wax is hot and liquid, it's difficult to see the dirt, but your chain sitting on the bottom of the pot is soaking in the dirt as well. So, how do we remove the dirt? An age-old way of separating small particles from the large is with a sieve. Pretty much all plant pots have holes in the bottom. That makes it a sieve. So grab a pot, make sure it fits in the wax bath itself, and give the pot a good clean. Make sure there's enough holes and that they're big enough to let the dirt through, but not allow your chain to slip through. Now cut the bottom part of the pot off so that it'll fit inside the wax bath with the lid on. Now if you haven't got or don't want to cut up a plant pot,
You can always hop along to your home store and buy yourself a sieve. You can also go to a hardware store or a garden shop and buy yourself a mini sieve. Drill 3 equally spaced holes in the upper side of the sieve. And using a piece of wire or a coat hanger, make yourself 3 hooks to fit in those 3 holes. And bend the end of the wire so it fits nicely over the lip of the pot. Put the hooks in the holes of the sieve and squash the ends so they don't fall out. Simple. So now the sieve sits above the bottom of the pot by about 1 centimetre or 2. If you use a stainless steel kitchen sieve, it'll probably end up looking something like this. All done, ready to go. The only problem with the hooks, it doesn't allow the original lid to fit. Oh well, use a bigger lid.
Okay, it's just forming a skin on top, only just. It's cloudy, and so we can take it out. Just jiggle the chain in the sieve. Beautiful. So that's perfect. And if anything, if you need to wipe it down, you can. This is almost perfect as it is. Yep. So it's still quite warm. It's not hot, but it's not warm either. It's sort of in between. Anyhow, don't really need to wipe this. It's just perfect as it is. I need to wipe my hands. That's it. Ready to go on the bike now. Just let it cool down first though.
Remember those big holes in the bottom of the wax caused by the water? That's because your chain that you put in the wax wasn't completely dry. After you've cleaned your chain thoroughly, you need to dry it as quickly as possible, otherwise oxidization will set in, or rust. On a hot, sunny day, you can hang your chain outside to dry. If not, you can use a hairdryer or even a heat gun. Or how about an old toaster oven?
Someone asked here, beeswax. Can I use beeswax instead of paraffin? Well, paraffin wax is extremely cheap for a start. Just your common candles are paraffin wax, and you can buy these dirt cheap. Whereas beeswax, and I've got some beeswax here, is quite significantly more expensive. If you happen to have lots of beeswax somehow, well, that's a different issue. The only problem with beeswax I've found, and I did try it with beeswax, is it's okay, but it tends to not be as lubricating, not as slippery as paraffin wax. In fact, this beeswax here, you can feel it, it's grainier, it's coarser, it's not as refined. So, sure, it may be really sticky, probably stickier than paraffin, it'll stick to the chain well, but it's not as good a lubricant. So, beeswax, well, let us know how you go. I would still say no. Here's some actual real beeswax. Anyhow, and I wonder why that's brown and this is white, but anyway, that's another situation. Beeswax, up to you. I would say no, but if you want to use it, then go ahead. It is a wax. Why the xylene? David asks, why the xylene? Okay, so I guess we're talking about this one. Why use xylene? Why are we using xylene at all? Why can't we just use the wax? Well, you can't get that into your chain. This hard stuff, this hard wax, how are you going to get it into your chain? The only way is to make it into a liquid form and get it into your chain that way. So xylene is the carrier, and a carrier means it helps the wax get into your chain, and once it's in, the carrier disappears. Now xylene is quite flammable, but it will evaporate very quickly. That's why it's flammable, I guess. So the xylene will carry the wax in very, very, very fine particulates into the chain in the pins and rolls where it's needed, and it will evaporate. Depending on what temperature it is, it can evaporate in 5 minutes in the warm weather. In cold weather, it might take a couple of hours. But generally, it'll get it into the chain and then the xylene will completely disappear and you'll be left with just the wax and paraffin oil mixture, which is perfect for your chain. So that's why we use xylene. It's a carrier. Right, and another Rob asks, no, he says, I made mine over a barbecue hot plate. Sure. I wouldn't use a naked flame if your barbecue's got naked flame, if it's a gas or a wood barbecue. A naked flame with hot paraffin oils, no. It's flammable. It's not highly flammable, but it is flammable. So don't make it where there's a naked flame. Use a low heat and just keep it simmering. And Aaron asks, how often do I have to clean and re-lube my chain, or re-wax, I guess? Yep. So, sure, how often do you have to do it? I think that's in the video anyhow. For an average, just an average, if you've got a road bike or mountain bike, definitely road bike, 300 kilometers, I'd say, before you need to completely submerge your chain again. If you're riding mountain bike, and because usually you get dirtier, wetter, and of course wet brings dirt on your chain, definitely sooner than 300 kilometers. If you're really in bad conditions, every ride, but every second ride at least. But generally, if in good conditions, 300 kilometers, I would say you get out of it before you need to re-wax. Another xylene. Lots of xylene questions. What can I use in replace of xylene? Can't get xylene here. Is xylene called something else? Xylene, okay, yeah. Well, that's the thing, is in Australia we can buy it because it's used in paints. Basically, it's a solvent for paint. If you can't get it where you are, you might have to Google. Do your own research. I can't research for you where you live. Please do it yourself. Type in perhaps into Google xylene in the country or the area where you live, and come up with some sort of maybe someone who particularly sells it in your area, or you may have to get it in if you can bring it in to where you live from somewhere else. Other than that, someone also asked, I remember, and they asked, what are the substitutes for xylene? So, for instance, toluene, and acetone, they're two of them. Now, I did a bit of research and I came up with 12 others substitutes for xylene that you can use. Now, I'm not going to go read them all. For instance, ProClear, Clearmont, Clear Advantage, Solane, Solvolex 9, Histosolve, and the list goes on. So I'm going to put this list on AusCycle on Facebook, and you can have a look yourself, because some of these names I'm probably saying wrong anyhow, but they are all substitutes for xylene. You may be able to get one or more of these substitutes where you live. So yeah, I know xylene is a nasty substance, but just be very careful with it. Wear your gloves, and you don't use a lot of it, and when you do use it where it's necessary. And it's the same with petrol. People say with petrol, with the cleaning of the chain, petrol's dangerous, it's bad for the environment, it's bad for your hands. Yeah, sure. How many billions of litres go into cars and then go into the atmosphere? The amount we use for cleaning is zero compared to that. So, yeah, you've got to think not only logically, you've got to think practically as well, and you just can't just tip it out everywhere and use it as you want, like water. It's not like that. You pay money for these chemicals. Be wary, read the labels and all that sort of thing as well. Okay, we better get on with the next one. Ah, yes. Scooby, I like this one, I've read it a couple of times. Scooby says, add a few drops of food dye for the colour of the wax. Why do you want to colour the wax? Some companies do, maybe. I don't know. I think the whole idea, if you're putting on your chain, we've got good chains, and usually they're like silver, aren't they, or gold. They've got some sort of a plating on them. And you put the paraffin wax on and you clean it, and it brings up that nice shine. If you've got a plain black chain, well, you're not going to see any colour anyhow. I can't see the point in having a coloured wax if you want to, that colours your fancy world, colours your world, whatever. I tell you what, you could add essential oils. How about adding some nice lavender or rosehip oil? Make your chain smell nice. You could actually do that because you only use a couple of drops. So, Anyhow, and Justin says, I using your wax method, noisy, comes out noisy. Every ride doesn't last long. Yeah, okay, so what you're saying is you put your waxy chain and after a ride it's gone all noisy and maybe squeaky again, and like the lubricant's not working. Doesn't say which one. Depends which one. If you use the xylene one, don't just put it on like oil and assume it's going to seep into your chain. You need to use a lot of it. That's why I say the word liberally. When you liberally means completely soak your chain and just keep putting it on. It's going to drip all over the place. You can wipe it off later. You need to get it into the pins and rollers. So you need to soak it into your chain. Let it sit there for a while till the xylene evaporates and then wipe your chain clean. If you're using the hot wax method, same thing. You need to make sure it gets into your chain. We'll address that in a minute. But if you take the chain out when the wax is too hot, the chain's still going to be hot because it's metal. You need gloves to hold it. That wax is just going to drip like water. It's just going to run out and down and off the chain. So it's going to not leave much wax in between the pins and rollers where it's necessary. When you go and put it on your bike again, you ride, after a while, it's only going to be a thin amount in there. See, it's going to go dry very quick. Not so much dry, it's just not going to be lubricating. So that's, I assume, going to be the problem there. So yeah, we'll address that in a minute with the hot wax. Right, so we've got our chain in the hot wax bath here, and it's just about ready to take out because the bubbles have stopped and it's been in there for quite some time. Now, the thing is, at what temperature do you take the chain out? Now that's important because if you take the chain out when it's too hot, the wax is very thin, it's going to run off your chain and it's not going to leave much wax on your chain. The other thing is the chain is the same temperature as your hot wax, so when you take it out, it's going to take a while to cool down because the chain is metal, and the wax is going to come out from the pins and roller area and it's going to come out like water. Basically, it's going to run out. It's not going to leave much wax in that area inside your chain. We want as much wax inside the chain as possible. If the temperature is too low when you take it out, it's going to come out and it's going to be gluggy. You're going to have all this wax on the outside as well, and you're going to have all that mess to wipe off. That's probably better than having it too hot, but it just leaves a mess. So there's an ideal temperature. I can hear the wax popping, which means it's way too hot. It's starting to bubble, like boil. So 98.4, way too hot.
As you can see, the wax is too runny. If you pull your chain out when it's too hot, the wax will just run out and off of your chain like water, leaving just a very thin coating of wax in the pins and rollers, which, frankly, isn't enough. 54 degrees now, and the wax is starting to get cloudy or thicken. 50 degrees now, and there's a skin starting to form on the surface of the wax. And pulling the chain out of the wax, it's not too gluggy, but any colder than this, you'll have a lot of wiping off to do. So the ideal temperature at which to take your chain out of the hot wax is between 50 and 54 degrees. So this gives the maximum amount of wax inside your chain with the minimum amount of wiping off and wasting any wax.
Well, that's it for this video, part 1. Now watch part 2 for more interesting essentials on waxing your chain.